Most people will never rise. Not because they can't, but because they won't. They stay stuck, paralyzed, not by chains, not by bars, but by thoughts they never questioned, beliefs they never chose, and standards they never raised. They live inside a cage that looks like freedom, a 9 to 5, a routine, a comfort zone dressed up like success. They say, "I'm doing okay," but okay is the slow death of greatness. Look around. You'll see them everywhere, people moving like ghosts in daylight, alive on the outside, dead in ambition, starved of purpose, addicted to mediocrity. And the truth? They don't even realize they've been programmed to stay average. From childhood, you were handed a script. Go to school. Get the grades. Follow the rules. Fit in. Don't dream too big. Be realistic. Settle down. Play it safe. Survive. But the ones who rise, the ones who break through, they burn that script. They reject that system. They see average not as a comfort but as a curse. Because average is the lie you were sold. To keep you manageable. To keep you obedient. To keep you just tired enough. To not rebel, just distracted enough. To never awaken. Most people stay average because they've never seen what's possible beyond the fog. They've never felt what it means to live with fire. So let me ask you, are you here to blend in or break through? Are you here to live in the shadow of other men's dreams or build a legacy that silences doubt? Because the truth, the raw, brutal, beautiful truth, is this: you were not made for average. You were not born to simply exist. You were designed to lead, to rise, to conquer, to create a life so magnetic, so unstoppable, that people stop in their tracks and whisper, "That one." They broke the cycle. But you don't get that by doing what everyone else does. You don't unlock greatness by following the crowd. You get it by becoming someone else entirely. The silent war in your mind. You want to know why most people never rise? Because the war is not fought in the world. It's fought in the mind. Not with fists, not with weapons, but with thoughts, with doubts, with fears disguised as logic, and dreams disguised as delusions. You see, the average mind is not empty, it's overcrowded. It's noisy with voices that never belong to you. Your father's fears, your teacher's limitations, your friend's opinions, society's expectations, and you're still living by their beliefs, driving your life with someone else's GPS. How could you possibly reach your destination? Most people stay average because they never reprogram that mind. They never realize the version of themselves they operate from was installed without their permission. You've been hypnotized to believe money is evil, success is selfish, confidence is arrogance, and greatness is reserved for them. But what if they were wrong? What if the greatest lie ever told was that you aren't supposed to be powerful? They want you average because average is predictable. And predictable never challenges the system, never questions the rules, never builds empires, never starts revolutions. The world tells you, don't think too big, don't want too much, don't stand out. But here's the truth. Every person you admire, every success story that shook the world, they did exactly that. Edison thought too big. Tesla wanted too much. Jobs stood out. Disney refused to fit in. Ford was called crazy. And every single one of them, every single one, was once just a name, a broke, laughed at, dismissed human being, until they decided to rise. They weren't chosen. They chose themselves. That's the real secret. And that's what average people never understand. You don't wait for permission. You give it to yourself. You don't hope for the door. You build it. You don't play by the rules. You write your own. So burn the old programming. Question everything. Delete the lies. Rebuild the mind. Because until you reprogram your thoughts, you'll always live someone else's life. Discipline. The difference between desire and destiny. Everyone wants success. Everyone wants wealth, freedom, purpose, impact. But want means nothing without discipline. Desire without discipline is just fantasy. It's the addiction to someday. Someday I'll change. Someday I'll start. Someday I'll become. But someday is the myth average people sell themselves. To sleep at night in the coffin of wasted potential. The truth is this: you do not rise to your level of motivation. You fall to your level of discipline. Discipline is not punishment. Discipline is divine. It's what separates dreamers from creators, wishers from warriors, average from elite. Most people stay average because they think discipline is hard. They think routine is restriction. They think sacrifice is suffering. But here's the secret. You're going to suffer either way. You either suffer the weight of regret or the weight of self-mastery. You either suffer from the pain of discipline or the pain of staying broke, stuck, and invisible. You choose your pain, but only one leads to power. When Carnegie built an empire, when Rockefeller rewrote the laws of industry, when Napoleon Hill studied the giants, they all echoed the same truth. Discipline is the price you pay for greatness. It's the invisible grind no one claps for. The early mornings, the late nights, the lonely hours when no one believes in you, but you show up anyway. And that's what breaks the average mindset. Consistency in the dark. You think you need a sign? A mentor? A lucky break? No, you need command. Over your thoughts, over your emotions, over your habits. Because the average mind runs on feelings, but the elite, they run on mission. And when your mission becomes louder than your excuses, that's when the transformation begins. That's when average becomes obsolete. Comfort, the most dangerous drug ever sold. Comfort is the silent killer. It doesn't scream. It doesn't threaten. It whispers. It whispers things like, "You're doing fine. You deserve to relax. You've worked hard enough. Take it easy. Tomorrow is another day." But comfort is a liar. A soft, seductive liar that hands you a pillow while stealing your purpose. Most people stay average because they've made comfort their king. They trade potential for pleasure. They confuse ease with peace. They seek the illusion of safety instead of the growth that comes from risk. Let me tell you a brutal truth. The life you want is on the other side of discomfort. It's hiding behind the cold shower, behind the early alarm, behind the difficult conversation, behind the scary leap. You don't grow in warmth. You grow in the storm. You grow when you're stretched, strained, scared, and you don't quit. Every great name you've ever heard, Elon Musk, Thomas Edison, Oprah Winfrey, Muhammad Ali, they were forged in discomfort. Edison failed 10,000 times. Ali trained until his lungs bled. Musk slept on factory floors. And you think you can become great while staying comfortable? No. Greatness has a cost, and average people aren't willing to pay it. They want millionaire results on a minimum effort mindset. They want transformation without tension. But that's not how this works. You can't build a new life while protecting your old one. You can't evolve and stay familiar. You can't rise and stay soft. The truth is this: comfort zones are graveyards, and most people are already 6 feet under and don't even realize it. If you want out, you burn the couch. You kill the comfort. You wake up earlier, train harder, read more, risk more, and stop negotiating with mediocrity. Because life doesn't reward what you want. It rewards what you demand. Are you ready to demand more from yourself? Then say it. No more average. No more small thinking. No more comfort addiction. Purpose. The fire you forgot. Most people stay average not because they lack talent, but because they lack direction. They wake up each day with no fire in their chest, no compass in their mind, no why behind their work. And a life without purpose is like a ship without a rudder. It floats, but it never arrives. You see, purpose isn't something you find in a book or a classroom. It's something you remember. You were born with it, but somewhere along the way, the world buried it under fear, failure, and expectations. They told you to be realistic. They told you to get in line. They told you to pick security over soul. And most people listened. But purpose doesn't die, it waits. It waits behind the things that scare you, behind the dreams you abandoned, behind the risks you were too afraid to take. Purpose is the voice that says, "This job isn't why you're here. This life isn't big enough for you. There is something more." Average people ignore that voice. Winners chase it. Because once you connect with your purpose, everything changes. Discipline becomes devotion. Work becomes worship. And life becomes a mission. You start walking different, talking different, thinking like a person who was called, not just hired. And here's the secret. Purpose doesn't ask for perfection. It asks for persistence. It asks for presence. It asks for passion. It asks, will you burn for what you were born for? So let me ask you, do you even know why you're here? Because if you don't, you'll always be lost. Chasing money, chasing status, chasing opinions, while your soul slowly starves. But when you remember your purpose, when you decide this life will mean something, you move different. You stop wasting time. You stop pleasing people. You stop chasing comfort. And you start building something eternal. Purpose isn't a luxury. It's the price of freedom. And until you pay that price, you'll always stay stuck. You'll always stay average. So don't just exist. Don't just wake up and go through the motions. Don't just do what pays you, do what builds you. Most people stay average because they forget who they are. They let the world define them instead of their mission define them. But not you. You're done with average. You're done with silence. You're done with wandering. Because your purpose is calling. And it's getting louder. Discipline. The war that most people never win. Most people never leave average because they never master discipline. They want the result, but they don't want the routine. They wish for greatness, but they live like comfort is the goal. And here's the raw truth. Discipline is the doorway between the life you have and the life you want. It's not the hacks, the shortcuts, or the affirmations. It's doing what needs to be done long after the excitement is gone. Most people are loyal to their feelings. Winners are loyal to their standards. Because feelings lie. They tell you rest when you need to rise. They tell you wait when you need to move. They tell you you're tired. But your purpose says, you're not done. Discipline is doing it anyway. Not once, not twice, but every damn day. Whether it's raining, whether you're broke, whether you're broken. Think about David Goggins. Think about Jocko Willink. Think about the legends who became machines of consistency. Not because they were born different, but because they made discipline their identity. Discipline doesn't care about mood. Discipline doesn't need motivation. Discipline builds itself every time you show up when you don't feel like it. That's what separates a person who dreams from a person who executes. Most people will stay average because they wait to feel ready. They wait for clarity. They wait for energy. They wait for someone to clap for them. But discipline doesn't wait. It moves. It gets up before the sun. It writes when the mind is empty. It trains when the body says no. It builds not when it's easy, but especially when it's hard. And that's what makes a champion. That's what makes a visionary. That's what makes a life that shakes the earth. Your legacy will not be built on what you feel. It will be built on what you do. And if you can master that, if you can walk into the fire again and again with no applause, no recognition, no guarantee, then there's nothing you can't have. The average never win this war because they never commit to the rules. They break their promises to themselves. They negotiate with laziness. They flirt with excuses. And they lose the fight before it even begins. But not you. You're still here, still listening, still becoming. And deep down, your life doesn't change with a dream. It changes when you show up regardless of how you feel. Say the word, continue, and we'll step into the next gate. Vision: why average minds can't see what greatness requires. Ask ChatGPT.